Hi, this is Minute of Overpass. My name is Eric and I make apps. Now this week I want to give you a really quick tour of iTunes Connect. Okay, so I was going to do a different video this week. I was going to talk about automation and some of the things that we're doing to automate certain things, like routine tasks. But I thought, actually, what I'll do is I'll do something different. I just finished recording a video for one of my clients showing them how to use iTunes Connect. And this is a video I've done over and over again because iTunes Connect can be very complicated when you're first getting started. So when we release a new app for a client who's not used to the app stores, I'll usually do one to say, this is how you use iTunes Connect. This is where you do this is where you do that, and I'll also do it for Google Play. Now I've done this video so many times, I thought actually maybe I'll do one for the Minute of Overpass this week to give you a kind of an idea, like just a tour of my iTunes Connect console and how I use it on a daily basis and everything like that. So if you can see my screen here, you can see my iTunes console. So this is, if you're an app developer, you're very familiar with this. If you're just getting started, it might seem a bit intimidating, or you may not even know that it exists. So here you can see, when you get to the home page, you have the 8 tiles. You would go to Member Center to do other things, but it's almost like you got half and half, where you got iTunes Connect and Member Center. They really should merge the two of them because you're constantly working between the two. So here you can see up in the upper right hand corner, you can see my profile. Now iTunes only like in the last week or two added a new feature where they allow you to switch between profiles. So it used to be like if we did work for a client, we would have to give them a unique email address. So because if they try to grant us access to their iTunes account using the one that we use to get into iTunes, then it will say it's already used. You have to select a new account name. So, but which was a big hassle. So we had I almost have 20 email addresses which were just used for clients' iTunes accounts. So I've got Eric1 at Overpass, Eric2 at Overpass, all this kind of stuff. So now they fixed it so you can switch between accounts. So we can ask a client just to add the current our current account onto their account, and then we could go up here and just click on here and switch between them, which really works well. Let me just refresh that. So that really works well. We have a client there, which I'll gray it out, but so I could just switch and go straight to his account without having to open up a separate browser and all this kind of stuff. So here on the front, you've got the 8 tiles. Get very used to these. I'm gonna go through them from the bottom to the top because they kind of the ones at the first 3 here are the most important as far as I'm concerned. So at the bottom here, you've got resources and help, which is just help text. I don't really hardly ever go into that. You've got agreements, tax, and banking. So this is when you set up the account. You have to set up all your banking details. You have to sign the contract saying, yes, I approve to the terms and conditions. And because it's Apple, because if you use iTunes normally for the iPad or your iPod or whatever, that they love to change the terms and conditions, and they always want you to approve them. So you actually have to spend a lot of time going in there and reapproving contracts. Users and roles is something that if you work with other developers, or if you have other developers work for you, then it's really important. So like I have, like I said, I hire developers all the time. So I'll grant them access to my iTunes account so they can upload builds or upload screenshots, that kind of stuff. I'll gray out some of the email addresses and names, but you can see basically you can grant them certain levels of access. So I may have a marketing person who can change text. I might have a financial person which I don't, but I might have a financial person who could go through and look at the financials, and I have a developer who can upload builds. So they recently introduced something where you could limit it by app as well, which is a big help. So we've done that a lot. Like I said, when we have a client, I might send them, say, please add me as a developer onto your account. That way we can just upload a build to your iTunes account, and it just makes things much easier than have to ask for their password and all that kind of stuff, which is what you used to have to do. Up here at the top, you got the test flight beta testers. Now, test flight used to be a separate thing where you would You would sign up to test flight, and it allows you to actually run beta builds on an iPad or an iPhone. So it's really difficult. It's not like in Google where you can just send somebody an executable or an APK file. You actually have to set the provisioning profile and everything like that. However, since Apple has taken it over, it's actually gotten much better. It used to be you could only set up 100 people like in the course of a year as beta testers. Now you can have, if you set them up as external, it's very simple just to upload a build, go through like an approval process of just like we said 1 or 2 days. The longest has been 3 days for the first beta build, and then you can add like up to 1,000 people as beta testers, as external beta testers. So like you just get their email address and password. So we do this a lot for clients. So they will say, we want you to send this to these 20 people to test, and then we just upload the beta build, and we go through and we can send that out, and it's much less convoluted. And that's let me just go into that. That's external testers. Internal testers, you could have people who are internal within your company to go through and test it on their various devices, on their physical devices. We don't use that often. More often than not, we'll use external testers, or we'll run it like locally using an ad hoc certificate. And sandbox testers, I think that's pretty much for like testing in-app purchases and stuff like that. My developers have used that. I haven't really used that very much myself. So that's users and roles. Very, very important. And we go up one. We got iAd, which is the Apple, advertising network. I have never used this, so I don't even think I've ever clicked on it. There could be like beautiful things behind this icon. I just don't even know. Payments and financial reports. You can export things to send to your accountants or whatever. I don't spend a lot of time in that. The reporting is not that great. But yeah, you get an email every month saying your financial details, and go into that, and you can actually see how much money you've made each month. So but it's more on like a chunked basis, so like a monthly report kind of thing. So more often than not, we'll use sales and trends to get like the daily resources. So that leaves us with these three here: these My Apps, App Analytics, and Sales and Trends, which are the ones I use the most often. So we'll start with My Apps. Now, My Apps is where you actually set up your app. So let me just go scroll down a few here. You can see here's a lot of our apps now. Some of them have been rejected for various reasons and need an update. Some of them have just been bad ideas to begin with and never actually made it through. Some of them they need new icons or whatever. Let me just go into one of these. I'll go into Vietnamese Flash Quiz. So once you go into this app, you can see everything's set up, right? We've got the over here on the top, we have the App Store, we have features, we have test flight, we have activity. So I'll go through those in a second. App Store is most of the time what you would use. That has all the information about the app. That's where you would add a new version, change information about the build, that kind of stuff. Features is mainly for in-app purchases. So if I was going to offer an in-app purchase in this one, for some reason this one we don't have an in-app purchase. We don't have the remove the ads kind of thing. But if I did, basically what I would do is I'd go in here and set up the in-app purchase, give it a unique name, and then that way within the code of the app, then we would say unlock, make this in-app purchase, but it would have to be set up here first. Test flight. Again, like we was talking about before with users and privileges, I could set up internal testers or external testers. I'd upload a build. I would set it as testable, saying I want to include this in test flight. If it's for external testers, it would have to be approved by iTunes, and that it's not like the normal approval process. It's actually not bad at all. It takes like a day. Sometimes it's only taken like a few hours. Sometimes it's taken less than an hour. Other times it's taken 3 days. But it does have to be approved. But once you do that, you could give it up to like 1,000 people for up to, it used to be 30 days, but now they just increased it to 60 days. So again, and we use that a lot, especially with clients. So rather than, when a client wants an app, then first we'll start doing it. We'll put it onto our own iTunes account and then start sending out test flight builds. And then they can test them out on their own devices. So it works out really well. And activity is just basically how many builds for reporting purposes. So let's go back to App Store. Now this first tab here is all the information about the app. So we've got the name, we've got the privacy policy, the bundle, the app ID, that kind of stuff. Now in iTunes you can set 2 categories, so you can set the you know like a primary and a secondary. So here we've got the first category here is games for this build, and we set as educational and word games for that. And the second category is education. So it's Google Play only gives you 1 category. This gives you 2, which is actually kind of nice. So in the next tab down here, we got pricing and availability. Now this is one of the big differences between Google Play and iTunes. In Google Play, you could set like any price. You could set $3.19 or whatever. But in iTunes, you have certain bands, and it actually makes things easier. So if I show you here, this is, since I'm in the UK, this is GBP prices. So here we got 79p as tier 1. £1.49 is tier 2. So if I select £1.49, you can see that it automatically goes through and does all the calculations. So one thing with Google Play is you want to kind of round it up. So like rather than have in the US have like $1.18, you might want to round it down to like 99 cents because it looks nice or whatever. Here they've already got all that done. So it's you basically select which band you want, and they go all the way up to, all the way up to 749 pounds. So that's pretty cool. You can include which countries you want to include it in. I never seen any reason to not include it in all countries. But if you wanted to, like if you did want to just restrict it to your own country or a different country, you could do that. A volume purchase program, you basically allowing educational institutions to have a discount. It doesn't, unless you're like really mean, don't want to do that. So now, okay, so this is the most important information here. This is the which version of the app is. So like if you were going to release a new version, you would go here and select new version or platform. This is also where you include all your screenshots and descriptions. So I'll just create a new one here. So the current one is version 1.0. It's kind of a new one. We haven't done many of this one. So if I were to release a new version, I would call it version 1.1. And it would allow me to go through and change screenshots, change the name, change the description. So usually when you release a new version, you get the what's new in this version. I usually say minor bug fixes, always, because you want people to download the new version, even if you're just doing something like changing ad networks or changing keywords. It's you might include a few bug fixes in there, or you might do some stability changes or what have you. But and then I always end it with, don't forget to leave a review, because we're always trying to get people to leave a review. Whether or not that works, I don't know. Down here you got these screenshots and video previews. Now I've done a little bit with video previews. They've just been so hard to set up. It's almost not been worth the time and the effort. You have to stay less than 30 seconds. It has to have, they have to be the same size as the app. So you end up spending a lot of time producing these videos, and it's just not, it's not worth it. I haven't found it to be worth it so far. And if you're somebody who sells video training or video, app videos, you may make the point that you get a 17% boost or whatever, but I have not found that. So, but basically you include all the different devices. This takes a long time to set up. You're usually loading them all up in the emulator. Now sometimes what I'll do is I'll just do the say for iPhone, the rectangle size and the square size for iPad, and then I'll just create a script that will just go through and resize them. And it might cause a little bit of stretching, but it depends on how important the app is to me. I might just want to get it out there right away. And also for this one here, you can see that they're just straight out screenshots. And other ones, what we'll do is we'll create like doctored screenshots. So like we'll put it in a phone, or we'll have a little bit of text at the top saying like, learn Vietnamese, super fast, or something like that, or some sort of copy, because this is mostly what people are going to read, more than the description. So, but for this one we haven't done it. This was, just quickly churning these ones out. But yeah, you should try to keep them for all platforms. And of course, just a few weeks ago, iPad Pro was added onto here. So, this is one that we don't have screenshots for the sizes for that. So down here you've got the description. Now the description you could change at any time. The screenshots, the title, the keywords, those have to be go out with a new build, so those go through the approval process. But the description you can change at any time. So if I wanted to go here and just like on the current build and say we have a sale on for the month of November, then I could do that. I could just add it there. The keywords are, who has it, who doesn't, we've said enough about keywords. Keywords are one of the most important things. Now you should have keywords in the title and also keywords here. Now most of the time what we'll do, and it's not the case with this one, but you'll see it on some of our other apps, is rather than just have Vietnamese flash quiz, we'll have Vietnamese flash quiz : learn Vietnamese, the key phrase there, learn Vietnamese in a fast and easy way for kids, or something like that. So we get as many keywords into the title as we can, but then everything that's not in that title we'll put in here. And you get 100 characters. So what you want to do is not include any spaces. Make sure they're comma separated, but and try to find things that are not specifically, they might not be the most obvious thing. So like like here I have Vietnamese. This actually, okay, this is not a good example because I have the word Vietnamese here in my keywords, but it's also in the title. So that, this is one that one of my developers worked on. So we could say like here I got Vietnamese. We could go through and remove some of these and then put different keywords in there. So do as I say, don't do as I do. But that's a case. Now we got support URL, marketing URL. Always use the same ones. The Overpass website. Apple Watch. We're not supporting Apple Watch. I've never actually used that yet. This is something I found difficult to understand to begin with. When you upload a new build through Xcode or Application Loader or whichever method you use, it will go through a short, a few hours of processing, and then you will see a little plus here, and you can click that and you would attach the build to this release. The icon here, it has to be 1024 by 1024. It cannot have alpha in it, so which is kind of awkward because you have the icon in the app which does have alpha, does have an alpha layer, which means it's transparent. But so you have to create another one, convert it to JPEG or remove the alpha layer from your PNG and then upload it here. Over here, most of the time what I'll do is I will include the display trade contact representative information, and for that, the copyright, 2015 Overpass Limited. If you're going to include it in Game Center, or you're going to include like leaderboards or something like that, you would select that and then add whatever you need to add into here. The review information down here at the bottom is not part of the app, but it's used for the reviewer, and so if they have any questions, they can get back to you. Now, this is really important if your app is kind of complicated. So like for this one, it's a game, so it's not hard to understand. If it was, wouldn't do very well. But like say if it was like a lot of stuff we do for clients, it's not the most straightforward. It requires a little bit of training. Like the reviewer won't just open that up and know exactly what to do, or they won't know the login and password, and that's why you have this demo account information. And like if it's something here that was really complicated, I might say, okay, this is used for this. First go to this screen, and if you click on this, you should expect to see that, all that kind of stuff. So that's here. And down here at the bottom, you've got the version release information. So you could, it used to be just you had two choices here, but now you've got three. You could say manually release this version. So when it goes through and Apple approves it, you could say don't release it yet because I want it to coincide with some event. Like maybe you might want to orchestrate like a big launch for both your Google Play and iTunes versions. So you want it to be on the same date, so you get that approval out of the way. Or you might you might just want to test to make sure it goes through. Or you can select to automatically release this version, which is the default. It's most of the time what we do. So as soon as it's approved, make it available. That's kind of the way we want to do it. Or there's this new one here where you can say select a date in the future. So that all works pretty well. So that's it. If you're going to release a new version, if you're going to change the keywords to try out new keywords, you have to go through and release a new version, which is a pain to upload a new build, but that's just the way it is. So that's it. So let's go back to the connect thing. So that's the My Apps. That's one of the more complicated areas. So don't save. Let's go to My Apps. Next, let's go to sales and trends. Now, this is where I spend most of my time. Like, check it at least once a day. Well, it's only once a day because it gets updated once a day. In the UK, it gets updated around noon, so I usually check it around noon. And you can see here, it's basically all the stats, all your downloads, all of your purchases and things like that. Let's see. So here you can see yesterday we had a really good day. 1.5 thousand downloads of EarSpy, so it actually went up 86%, which is good. Chemistry Alley had a good day. So it's you could go through and there's different types of reporting information, but it's like one of the most important things. Up here at the top, you can see I could check how many units, like how many downloads, so it's free and paid. I could check the proceeds or the sales. Now that is actually as you know, Apple will take 30% of the purchases. So so the proceeds are kind of what you get. The sales are the total of the app. So that should be about 30% less. If I'm correct there. So again, this is one of the an important part of the process. You can see my stats here. I make more on Google than I do on iTunes, to be honest, which is the opposite of most people. So that's there. Let's go back to the report. Like I said, I spend most of the time there, and this is one of the things that I explain to my clients how to use that mostly. And finally, let's go to App Analytics. App Analytics is kind of a new thing. It just came out within this year, and it gives you a lot of statistics that you didn't used to have. Like you used to not know, you could tell how many people have downloaded your app or how many people have purchased, but you didn't know how many people looked at it and how many people saw your screenshots and didn't think much of it. So what this does, it gives you data along that line. And now Google Play has something similar now, which came out just shortly after this. But like here, one of the most important figures I can see is the App Store views versus the app units I downloaded. So I can see, all time on iTunes. And again, iTunes is not the biggest for us. We've got 366,138 people have looked at the page in iTunes. Either they searched on it or found it through Google or what have you. But only 166,000 have actually downloaded it. This one doesn't have any in-app purchases, so it's 0 sales. And this is how many sessions, and then you got all the analytics information, like which country they're coming from. Actually, China's the second biggest country for us. That's not bad. So it's very very interesting. You also see the sources, so you can see where people are coming from. That's not search related. So you can see they're coming from Google or other places, but most of the time they're coming from keyword searches within iTunes. So it's very useful. So that's it. That's my quick well, I suppose it's not that quick. My quick tour of iTunes and how I use it, the kind of stuff that I do. A lot of the stuff I do in terms of analytics and reporting, I'll go to App Annie, because App Annie has a lot more information in one place. It's much easier to see the reviews, for example, on App Annie. But this is how iTunes works, and hopefully this has been a little bit helpful for you, especially if you're just starting out. A lot of the stuff I was looking at online when I first started 3 years ago was a few years old at that point, and it changes so much. I mean, it's even with our own developers, they'll say, I haven't been in this in a while, and everything's different, and I'll have to explain to them how where everything's been moved to. So, but as of right now, the end of November 2015, this is how iTunes looks for us. Now, I'll try to do another one about Google Play and give you a tour of our Google Play console. But yeah, hopefully that's been useful. That's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll talk to you next week. Okay, bye. Hey, I really hope you liked that video. Now I do these once a week, so if you want to hear more, or you want to hear more about our experiences with the App Store, either Google Play or iTunes, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and please like this video and leave a comment. I love reading the comments. I love hearing what you have to say, even if it's just hello or whatever. And like I say before, if you're not sure what to say in a comment, like I never know what to say in a comment, I'll make it easier for you. Like if you liked it, just go ahead and say gnarly, which is an 80s term, or if you didn't like it, just say bogus, and if you didn't think any of it, just say right. So that would be a big big help. And another thing you could do, which I'd really appreciate it, if you're on the App Store and you want to try one of our apps, look up some of the Overpass apps, applications either on iTunes or Google Play, and leave a review and let us know what you think about it, either good or bad. But it's we're all trying to build up in the market, so that would be a big help. So that's it. I'll talk to you next week.